Here's a sneak peek from today's episode.
It's a difficult terrain, I would say, because you always question the ROI on content. And there are basic metrics, number of clicks or number of views on the content that you have produced. But you have to look at more in a balanced fashion to see, okay, how many clicks I'm generating, how many views I'm generating. If you're posting on social media, is somebody from your ICP going and liking that content? How many reshares and reposts do I have? If you're publishing externally, you would see folks liking it, commenting on it. So you'll see the engagement. So engagement metrics is really important. That means it is clicking with the audience. And the ultimate goal would be, hey, you are writing content for some purpose.
Welcome to the Content Amplified podcast, brought to you by Masset. Our goal is to help you get more from your marketing content. Each episode is a 10 to 15 minute interview with industry experts that share amazing insights to help you squeeze as much juice from your content as you possibly can. Here's today's interview.
Welcome back to another episode of Content Amplified. Today I'm joined by Anshuman. Anshuman, how are you doing today?
Great, Ben. Thank you for having me on your podcast.
You bet. Well, before we dive into the subject, and it's going to be a fun conversation, really because you've seen all of the different sides of content when it comes to producing it, to managing it, to distributing, and all of the strategy. So it's going to be really fun. But before we dive into it, Anshuman, if you could give us some background about who you are, your career, and then we always love to ask, what do you love about content and marketing?
Sure, Ben. So Ben, I work as VP of Growth Strategy and Operations at Nextuple. We are inventory and order management software and services firm. I have over 20 years of experience working in a number of companies such as Infosys, Hewlett-Packard, and in the last 12 years before joining Nextuple, I was working as associate partner for 12 years at A.T. Kearney. It's a management consulting firm wherein I used to drive digital transformation projects for a number of CPG and retail clients. So in past life, prior to Nextuple, I have done almost like 100 white papers in the last 10 years. And at Nextuple, our mission is to bring the best of the content to educate, make our retailers aware about what are the arts of possible, or what's the possibility in terms of getting best out of their inventory and order management systems. And content has a big role to play.
I love that. Well, today we're going to have the fun conversation, really talking about content strategy and all of the different components and sides of content marketing. So to kick it off, Anshuman, when you're talking about all of these white papers that you created, that's a lot of content written. What are some lessons that you've learned from producing that much content and kind of that repetition? What works, what doesn't work? What are some insights that you have from that?
Yeah. So Ben, I'm talking about pre-ChatGPT and post-ChatGPT era, right? If I can divide it that ways. Pre-ChatGPT, I mean, you did not have the tool available which can compose and write it for you. So it was a lot harder from the perspective of producing the content, editing it, proofreading it, publishing it, all of that stuff. That has become a lot easier. If you have an idea, use ChatGPT to kind of, compose it, embellish it, and take it to the world. What is true in both the eras is it needs to be unique. Your content needs to be personalized to the audience. The content needs to be appealing to whoever is reading. Because, there's no dearth of content. There's so much of information and a lot of noise. So I think the challenge continues to be, how do you create unique content, personalized content that appeals to the audience that it is meant for? And that is where I always ask our teams to kind of divide our content into two halves. There's a base content. You don't have, you just need to describe a function or a feature or a product. And you don't need to over-engineer or boil the ocean. But there is a wow kind of content wherein you need to ensure that your unique point of view, not necessarily me too, is out there, consumed by people whom it is meant for. And that is where folks need to really spend time in terms of figuring out whether it is a wow content or not. How do I go about capturing the eyeballs? And that is really important to kind of, segment the content and make sure that it is personalized enough.
I love that. So, as you transitioned throughout your career from someone who was creating the content, really boots on the ground, really working on creating content, and have gone throughout your career and have come to a leadership and a strategic standpoint, you're probably not spending that much time actually writing the content anymore, but it's about training and educating and managing the team and giving them the strategy. How does someone go through that pathway? How do they start to think about content from a strategic level instead of just the tactical, I need to get this done level? What were some lessons you learned along the way as you made that transition?
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I would first start with figuring out as an organization, you don't have to write too much because there's a value in volume, but there's a value in quality as well. So what is the right balance between volume, velocity, and quality? I think you need to first create that. The second aspect would be, work backwards from the North Star. So what is this content supposed to do? Is it going to drive search engine optimization? Is it going to drive education for the customer? Is it meant as a tool for customer success? So what is it meant for? So you kind of, you have to segment your content, and work with your engineering teams, product teams, sales team, marketing teams to make sure that there's a good alignment in terms of what we are aspiring for. Otherwise, you might create, too much content, effort wasted, or too little content, which is not necessarily meeting the needs of marketing and demand gen. So you need to create a lot of cross-functional alignment as well. And what I have seen working is, idea of tag teaming. You and I can be assigned to write an article, and that way is, we have each other's shoulders to kind of, talk through, or, use each other's as, ideation touch point to kind of, come out with best of the content that you are producing. So instead of leaving it in one individual's hand, maybe create pairs so that they can brainstorm, ideate, use tools at their disposal to write best of the content that they can in the time you have, while managing the volume requirements, velocity requirements, as well as quality requirements of your content strategy.
I love that. And I love the alignment between the different departments. And I love how, as a leader, you're establishing the goals and the objectives to say content isn't just there for the sake of content. It's there to accomplish some sort of an objective to help you get to your end destination. You're all row in the right direction as a company. When you look at it, though, how do you measure the success of your content? Often it's really difficult. We don't have all of the metrics. There's all these debates about gating or not gating and all of that kind of stuff. How do you personally look at success metrics and know if content is working or if it's not?
Yeah, good question, Ben. I think it's a difficult terrain, I would say, because you always question the ROI on content. And there are basic metrics, number of clicks or number of views on the content that you have produced. But you have to look at more in a balanced fashion to see, okay, how many clicks I'm generating, how many views I'm generating. If you're posting on social media, with somebody from your ICP going and liking that content, how many reshares and reposts do I have? If you're publishing externally, you would see folks liking it, commenting on it. So you'll see the engagement. So engagement metrics is really important. That means it is clicking with the audience. And the ultimate goal would be, hey, you are writing content for some purpose. And content is a great asset for B2B setting, B2B software, B2B SaaS companies. Ultimately, if somebody says, hey, I downloaded your white paper and it resonated with me and I would love to have a conversation with you. That kind of a lead gen or demand gen is the ultimate nirvana. Or why would you write content? Or in the customer success setting, and say, hey, I don't need any of your product guys. I downloaded your API documents and implementation guide and I'm self-sufficient. Awesome, guys. You have done a great job in explaining how your product actually works. So some of those proof points or aha moments you have to capture as well. To see if content strategy is working. But I would say, it's an iterative process. It's a long-term process. There's no shortcuts in refining and attaining the objectives from your content strategy.
I love that. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I love how you're looking at it on a per piece of content basis. What's the objective? What are we measuring? Earlier on, you mentioned ChatGPT. You talked about how you had that experience before ChatGPT, and now you have this experience after. How are you coaching your team to use AI, but also in an authentic way, like you mentioned as well, having a unique point of view, bringing unique value to the conversation and the content? How are you leveraging, and how do you kind of find the balancing point between content written by a human and content written by AI, such as ChatGPT?
Yeah. No, I think ChatGPT is an awesome tool to do all the grunt work that you have to do. Proofread it, spell check, typographical errors, compose it, edit it, proofread it. All of that can be done by ChatGPT very easily. And that frees up time for content producers to really focus on the ideas. What is the wow idea that you are taking to the market, or what is that unique point of view that world needs to read about? And so I encourage teams to really focus on that. You don't have to really focus on grammar and all of that stuff too much, or however it is composed. Just focus on the ideas and use tools like ChatGPT or Gemini to kind of help you compose, refine, edit, iterate on the content piece. So that's how I encourage teams so that you can maintain the uniqueness and quality of the content while also conserving the effort and time that otherwise you would spend if you don't use tools like ChatGPT. So that's how I encourage teams to use tools and not you don't have to avoid tools, but you have to use tools in authentic ways, as you mentioned, Ben.
Yeah, I like that. So these episodes are short, and so we only have one more question before we run out of time. When you're looking around the internal alignment, and I loved how you talked about that piece, how are you encouraging on like a tactical level internal alignment between departments, both inside the marketing organization and externally? Is that a cadence of meetings, emails, touch points? What's typically some of that information that tends to work well with that kind of a situation?
Yeah. It could be multi-pronged, Ben, in terms of how you achieve the alignment. First of all, each organization is different. The nature of organization also drives what do you do. If you are in professional services business or consultancies, it's all about coming out with the next idea. Content production and unique content production is in the DNA of the organization. You would be assigned content as part of your MBO. While in other organizations, let's take software or SaaS, you have to produce certain content which is table stakes, your implementation guides, your deployment guides, or your education guides. But you'll have thought leadership as well, whether it is blogs, videos, etc. And it requires a lot of time and energy and effort from the leadership, from product engineering, sales, marketing teams. But I would say bringing the alignment holistically on an annual quarterly basis so that folks are moving the right direction. And then on tactical basis, at whatever be the cadence that works for the team, whether it is monthly, bi-weekly, make sure that you have the check-in so that, you are producing the content that you aspired for. You are producing at the right volume levels that you wanted to aspire for. You are essentially checking on the objectives with whether the content that has produced is meeting or not, so that you are pivoting as needed if needed, and it also meeting the objectives of SEO and other items as well.
Perfect. Well, Anshuman, again, thank you so much for the insights. I love how you strategically look at content, get everyone involved, really holistically look at the analytics and the objectives. I think this is really good advice for anyone that is in a leadership position, or even individuals that want to move into content strategy, content marketing, leadership, things of that nature. Super good insights. If anyone wants to continue the conversation and reach out, where and how can they find you online?
You can find me online on LinkedIn. You would easily be able to search me with my name, Anshuman Jaswal at Nextuple. I'm available on Twitter as well. You can easily find by my name. Just reach out and go to my website, nextuple.com, if you are interested in anything pertaining to inventory and order management, just go there, access the content, drop me a line. Love to be in the conversation.
I love it. I love it. Well, Anshuman, again, thank you so much for the time and all of your insights today. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Ben. Thanks a lot. Have a good one.
Thank you for listening to the Content Amplified podcast. Please subscribe and leave us a review. And for additional ways to get more out of your content, visit our website at getmasset.com. That's getmasset.com. And tune in next time to the Content Amplified podcast.